about Venom right here. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. What a fun flick, man. I had a really good time watching that movie. I already knew going into it, they're like, you're going to like it. If you like the first one, you're going to like this movie. I enjoyed the first one. Did I think it was an Academy Award-winning masterpiece? No, but I enjoyed it. I had a really good time. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I like Tom Hardy. I think he's hilarious. I would have paid just for the restaurant lobster scene alone, where he climbs in a lobster tank, starts eating living lobsters. That was hilarious. So, I like the dynamic between Venom and Eddie Brock, and they kept that going into the second movie. This movie's all about his relationship with Venom and them arguing and having a hard time and learning to get along. And it's this can happen in a marriage. It can happen in a band. It can happen in a business. Anytime you're got to be in close quarters with somebody, you're gonna start annoying each other, and stuff happens. And I think it's funny. Two guys trapped in the same head space, they start to really piss each other off. And you know, you got the ex-girlfriend situation. You've got all the great things of the lady at the convenience store, and then you got Woody Harrelson coming back as the serial killer, and then you have the introduction of Carnage, and you have all other kinds of other stuff coming in. They did a good job with the backstory, showing some of the backstory for Cletus.
Cletus.
It's Cletus Cassidy. His backstory. And I thought it was cool. I really enjoyed the movie. It was very concise. They need to explain something. They just straight did it. They didn't pussyfoot around about anything. They just very concise movie. Honestly, I think I would have liked the movie a little bit better if it was, instead of being 90 minutes, if it had been 100 minutes. I think there could have been a little bit of buffer. But I'm not saying it was too short. I think it was just right. It was on the edge of being too cut and go. Like, they didn't mess around. Like, if they needed to make a point, they're just like, okay, this blah, 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 boom, 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 boom. Very concise movie. Don't take that as a flaw. I still think it was great. So, and then of course the post-credit scene, and of course the hinting at toxin at the end, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. But we're gonna break it down and talk all about it. Curtis, what did you think of the movie? And Dustin, did you see it too?
I did not see it, but I was going to ask you the pacing of it. Do you think there'll be a director's cut where it's like they add in, like, it's some kind of a different pacing?
I don't know. I feel like the universe is getting tired of director's cuts. I love director's cuts because I like the extended
It's almost
vision.
expected now.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Who knows what's going to happen? It's Andy Serkis who's Gollum, who does all the facial acting for Planet of the Apes and all the other stuff. He's got a lot of behind the scenes experience on all ends, from storytelling and acting to directing, and this is another directorial offering from him, and I think he did a great job. I thought it was really fun. I liked the back and forth. I could see it could almost get kind of old maybe for some people. Might be like, this is they're kind of overdoing it with this thing. It's like, this is like almost a romantic comedy between Venom and Eddie Brock. But I loved it, and I thought that was hilarious.
That's a cool take.
Yeah,
no one's done that yet.
Yeah, I think it's
a cool idea.
I think it's hilarious. What do you think, Curtis?
No, I did. I definitely thought it was fun, like the first one. I did not see the first one, and I was very surprised that I enjoyed the first one. I hadn't seen it. I hadn't heard good things, but I watched it, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. The first one was very good. It's again, you got to separate yourself from comics and movies. They're going to go in different directions. It's just the way it's going to go. Rights issues and everything else aside, like storyline, you got to make it fit for a movie. Again, the same thing. Carnage was a much bigger villain in the comics, but I really enjoyed this one. It was good. The pacing was good. My son watched the first and the second, and he liked them both. The rapport between Eddie and Venom is probably what made it for him, and to a degree, kind of made it for me. Like, that's the thing. Like, you see that relationship in the comics. They hint at it, but they gelled it well. But they killed off Carnage, who is a major fucking villain, and we'll get into that in a minute. But otherwise, it was a very good film. I mean, very
Did they leave
entertaining
it
film.
open at all for Carnage to come back?
Well,
Because these symbiotes, they're
yeah,
squirrely.
we'll talk about that. But
I thought also like Carnage is supposed to be like as strong as like Spider-Man and Venom combined. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And then and Venom is and I mean if we go down the line, Toxin's supposed to be as strong as Venom and Spider-Man and Carnage combined. They keep getting stronger. You know what I mean? But what did you think about that? Did that when he was like, okay, let's do this, and they end up fighting, did you think like, hey, that's nonsense? He would have just gotten the shit kicked out of him a lot quicker, or what?
Well, kind of. I mean, he definitely had help. He had. I liked how Dan redeemed himself because, like, when Venom's like, Dan, nobody likes you. You fucking suck. Like, and then he redeems himself and he helps out. Like that was good and stuff like that. But again, yeah, it took Spider-Man and Venom to beat Carnage. Like, Venom hates Spider-Man. Like, that's the thing. Venom's not a bad guy. He just hates Spider-Man. He just wants to kill Spider-Man. He doesn't want to kill everybody else. And that's why the whole comic Venom Lethal Protector was a comic, because he's not a bad guy. He just wants to kill Spider-Man. Well, there's no Spider-Man in this one, so it's just Venom versus Carnage. And they just kind of there was other stuff going on, people helped and stuff like that. When it comes down to it, like that, and this is what I think is going to be the flaw if they continue down this road, because they set it up as Patrick Mulligan becomes Toxin. So he's the cop that's helping Venom or working with Eddie Brock.
What's funny is they didn't show how he became Mulligan. They didn't show him bite anybody, or they didn't show like it just.
Well, he got stabbed with Venom or with Carnage's stuff. And I think that's how, like, again,
I get. You just see his eyes glow, but if you don't know who Patrick Mulligan is and you Google Mulligan, it's like, oh, that's Toxin.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I don't want to see 3 fucking movies where he fights symbiotes again. They gotta branch. If Venom is gonna be a franchise, like, they gotta do something else. Like, it's good for the first and the second. I know.
Speaking of which, you saw the post-credit scene. There's no drag it out in the post-credit scene. I'm going to set up what happens. These guys, by the end of the movie, Eddie and Venom have to hit the road. They get out of town because now they're known criminals, even though they saved the day, but they're known criminals. Venom had to basically break Eddie. They pass the symbiote through his ex-girlfriend into him while he's in jail, and he busts through the wall and escapes. He had to apologize because they'd been fighting, and the ex-girlfriend had to beg him. It was like, okay, all right, fine, but he's got to apologize. And then they go back, and then he has to really apologize. It's pretty hilarious. But anyway, busts out, goes, saves the day. And then at the very end, they're like, okay, we gotta get out of town. So they get out of town, and they end up in Mexico. They're in Mexico in a seedy hotel room with the fan going, and he's like, blah blah blah. He says something. He's like, wait, and Eddie's like, wait a minute, you keep stuff from me? And he's like, of course, yeah, I keep stuff from you, Eddie. He's like, if you had just a fraction of what my millennium of hive mind information that I've stored, it would blow your brain up. You couldn't handle all the, he's part of a hive mind, which is interesting, like, cool. And he's like, let me just give you a taste.
All right, Eddie, I'm going to give you a taste of what the hive mind is.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! So all of a sudden they're in the hotel room. It's the same, but it looks cleaner. It's better, well lit. The ceiling fan is moving different. It's not really fast, crappy. It's a nice, fancy one.
They've got the swan.
Yeah, the towels on the bed are folded like swans, and they're like, what the hell just happened? And you're like, hey, what the hell just happened? He just gave him a taste of the hive mind. And what I thought is, how there's a history of Venom taking over, and you got Peter Parker ends up asleep. Venom took over. They wake up on the top of a building. That happens. Sometimes he takes over, and then they end up somewhere else. I thought that's what happened. I thought he took them. All right, I'm going to take you for a ride, and then they wake up in a different space. That's not what happened, because all of a sudden you hear the editor of the Daily Bugle, C. Thomas Howell?
J. Jonah
Jameson. Yeah.
So he's talking on the news. Oh, well, the identity of Peter Parker is, of Spider-Man is Peter.
And you're like, wait a minute, that's dude from the newspaper talking, and they're in the hotel room, the TV's on, and they're in a fancier hotel room, but it's the same hotel room, and he's like, Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and then it shows the TV, and it's Tom Holland on TV, and you're like, holy crap, we're in the Sonyverse, and we got Tom Holland, who's from the MCU. What in the actual F is going on here? And then and then Venom is like, that's him. And then he licks the TV screen, and then it ends. And you're like, holy crap, did they just suck Tom Holland out of the MCU into the Sonyverse? Or did they just suck Venom into the MCU? Or is this is a big crack in the thing? Did Venom help do this by using the hive mind trick? Is this just happened to be when Tom Holland screws up Doctor Strange's spell? What the hell's going on here? And then you go home and watch What If. You're like, oh, did Super Mega Ultron just break the universe also at the same time as Doctor Strange? There's a lot of questions out there as to what the hell happened, but it seems as though Venom got sucked into a different universe or woke up in another universe somehow. And whatever the case is, we know that we have Spider-Man and Venom in another universe, in the same universe. So I think we're going to have a little bit of that before we end up with another symbiote movie as far as Toxin goes. But also that if this is a new universe too, I heard somebody, one of the big YouTubers saying, did that just completely erase the whole movie, make everything irrelevant? Because everything that happens in that movie doesn't matter because now Venom is in a different universe. Could be. I don't know. Curtis.
No, I mean, yeah,
or continue
that could be
your spiel because that's but that's what happened.
Well, and that's the crux of it. So, the movie itself is good. They beat Carnage and stuff like that. There's a lot of Easter eggs in there. But when that happens, so the Venom even says, "I didn't do that." Whenever
yeah,
the everything changes, and Venom says, "I didn't do that." Like he says, so it wasn't. yeah, that wasn't me. It was something that he didn't do. So I've seen it's interesting. Before this, I watched a lot of theories on it on YouTube and stuff like that. They are under the opinion that it can't be in the No Way Home movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. Whenever Doctor Strange casts a spell, and he's like saying, I want everybody to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man or whatever. And Peter says, oh, well, what about Mary Jane? And what about, my friend Ned and this and that and the other? Okay. And they're like, but look, this is right after the J. Jonah Jameson thing. It's right after Spider-Man Far From Home. That's right afterwards. So how could that work? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't line up time-wise.
Oh, you're right. So
we won't know until the multiverse of madness.
Well, but that's the thing. That's what they say. We're talking about magic here, guys. Like, okay, and he's casting the spell to be before that all of that happened. So if he's casting the spell before everybody finds out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and then the spell messes up while he's casting that spell, it would be directly afterwards. So they could jump into that multiverse. I saw other videos where they were saying that that didn't happen. And during Loki, if you watched Loki, it's whenever Loki makes the timeline split, and those timelines split and they cross and touch one another, that's whenever Venom and them jump over. That could be true as well. But here's the thing: is like Marvel's not going to give that to Sony.
Yeah, it might be like we'll play in the same sandbox until we get through the Spider-Verse and through the multiverse of madness. We'll make it fun for everybody, and then at the end of it, you're going to end up getting Spider-Man back.
So, and here's the deal too. So, if it's like movies in the past, Sony gets all the movie rights. That's the deal. They have the movie rights. Marvel gets all the merchandising rights. So Marvel's like, you want to put Doc Ock in there? Fucking put Doc Ock in there. We'll make some Doc Ock toys. You want to put Green Goblin in there? We'll make some more Green Goblin toys. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sony doesn't have the merchandising rights. Marvel has the merchandising rights. Sony has the movie rights, so they're going to get all the movie property money, and Marvel's going to get all the merchandising money. And if Star Wars has taught us anything, merchandising can get you way more money than movie rights. But Marvel is not going to give them anything like Loki or like it. This is coming from.
I'm not saying anything about any of the MCU people appearing in a Sony movie. That's,
no. Okay.
I'm not talking about Thor appearing in Venom. I'm talking about Venom appearing in Thor.
Maybe.
I'm not even
maybe
actually.
Sony ain't got Disney money.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm actually talking about Venom appearing in Spider-Man, which is
Venom,
MCU.
Yes, Venom will appear in Spider-Man.
You think he's going to be in No Way Home?
I think to a very, and it might be. It's probably going to be like a after credits trailer, or after credits scene.
A post credit scene.
Yeah. I don't know, but
because Venom lives in the same universe with Doc Ock and Sandman and all these other people that are probably and Electro that are going to be appearing, also going to be appearing in an MCU film.
So here's what we're talking about. Okay, baby, we just did this last week. Let's do it again.
I don't know how I feel about all this shit anyway. It feels like fucking Star Trek popping up in a fucking Star Wars movie.
Why
shit?
Why does it feel like that? Spider-Man was in the Avengers.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to bring down the vibe, but I'm all about Venom fighting Spider-Man, like having a legit.
Well, what I think is going to happen, I think that No Way Home is because I think Peter's going to be kicked out of the MCU, and there's no way home. Like they're like, okay, you can have Spider-Man for one more movie, and after that, he's going back to the Sony world. And I think
good one.
And
for
I think,
a while, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that he's gonna for a while because they got Kraven the Hunter, they got Venom, Carnage, Toxin now teased, and now you've got a little appearance of Tom Holland in there too. So I think they're just doing that so that they could say, cool. At the end, Peter probably is going to sacrifice himself and get sucked into another universe, which is a non-MCU universe, and there's no way home from that. And then after that, the next movie is probably going to be Venom 3 is probably going to be Venom versus Spider-Man. And then at the end, Mulligan's going to appear at the last second, and or going to break it up because Mulligan's going to appear when Venom and Spider-Man are fighting, and it's going to end up turning into the real threat, and then you're going to have Spider-Man and Venom team up because they can't beat Toxin on their own.
Right.
That's probably what's going to happen. That's what I think.
No, I don't think Venom's besides maybe a post-credit scene in No Way Home, which happens to have Doctor Strange in it. Like, so technically he would be in the Marvel universe or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't see Marvel giving Sony anything. Man.
I think they said we'll let you have Spider-Man for one more movie if you help us do a smooth transition where we make it a smooth transition that makes sense and helps us set up our universe. Okay, cool. How do you want to do that? I don't know what would work. Well,
yeah,
we got Venom is a big character that did really well. It was a surprise breakout movie that we didn't know was going to do that well. It did like $800 million. Maybe we could do that and set all these things up.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. At the same time, if Venom, they have the symbiote that can speak across universes, that means that whenever he says, "Oh, that guy," and he licks the screen, he's thinking or he's remembering not our Venom, not the current Venom.
He's remembering a different Venom's experience.
Memories. He's remembering Topher Grace's memories of Venom in Spider-Man 3.
That's pretty good.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good way to tie it all up.
Yeah. That is absolutely true. And I hadn't even it's not his own memory.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking that I was like, is this a different symbiote maybe that fought, but it wouldn't be Venom if it was somebody else. But if it's a different, if they have a hive mind through universes, then it is the one from Spider-Man 3.
And Topher Grace is on Twitter as saying, yeah, I'm in Spider-Man 3. Now, everybody thought he was joking, or No Way Home, not Spider-Man.
Yeah, maybe he's not.
Spider-
Bitches.
But-
Maybe he is.
but they-
Maybe he shows
and
up.
exactly. He straight up said like, yeah, I'm in there, like, and everybody's like, ha 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 ha, ha. And maybe he is, because what other way is there of explaining it? You can't make a multiverse and just disregard Spider-Man 3, especially if you got fucking Thomas Hayden Church
I was gonna say
in there. Like, like you can't just do that.
And there's people that think he's going to be in it because there's some shots of electricity, and then you see sand come through it. So and he got forgiveness from Peter. So is he going to step in and save Peter because he's like, hey, Peter forgave me for killing his uncle. We're buddies now. I'm going to save his ass. I don't know why he talks like that, but he does. That means that Venom in Venom 2 remembers Tom Holland because of Topher Grace, the Venom or the Spider-Man 3 version of Venom, knowing because they have a hive mind. Awesome observation. Curtis puts his glasses down, much like a mic drop. He's like, boom, in your face, people.
This is